What's up, everybody? My name's Garrett. Welcome to the Move with Murph channel. Today, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite topics, and that is food. Most importantly, some of the criteria that I use to choose food on my through hike to keep the cost low and the calories high, and how they compare to those dehydrated backcountry meals that you can buy at an outfitter. I'm going to use a couple of pretty important metrics. One, calories per ounce, which is how calorie dense the food is versus how much that it weighs, and calories per dollar, which is a new metric that I've just recently discovered, and that's going to show me how efficient my money is and how I can stretch that dollar a little bit further to get some more miles out of it. So let's get into it. All right, I'm sitting in a bike park in Wanaka, New Zealand, and there are cyclists going all over the place. This is one of the coolest parts about this town. There's a huge bike park right here in town. But let's get into some of the criteria I use to choose backcountry food. The first and foremost thing I should bring up is that everyone's different. Everybody has different dietary needs, dietary restrictions, whatever it might be. I personally get a really upset tummy from those dehydrated backcountry meals. So those aren't the best for me. I'm also allergic to tree nuts, so that rules out nut butters, almonds, cashews, a lot of those really calorie dense foods that a lot of people are eating all the time on the trail. So I had to get pretty creative. And when I'm looking at food, I use a couple of criteria to help me choose them. The first and foremost thing that I look for is calories per ounce. So if you look at a jar of peanut butter, it appears to be very heavy. But if you look at how many calories that jar provides, it is very calorie dense, therefore quite efficient. So I carry jars of peanut butter with me all of the time. They're a great trail food. The next thing that I consider is a fat to protein ratio of 4:1. So for every 4 grams of fat that I eat through the day, I would like to consume 1 gram of protein. That creates really efficient energy for my body and stops me from feeling really lethargic. So I can continue to eat throughout the day and never feel like I've just completely overstuffed myself and don't have the energy to keep going for the rest of the day, because I spend majority of my day hiking. Another thing to consider is it shelf stable? You don't have a refrigerator with you, so milk, blah, 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 things like that, not a great thing to bring out there. I break this rule all the time. I carry cheese with me. Sometimes on the first day I'll bring out a little bit of meat. I'm going to carry aioli with me all the time, things like that. The FDA recommends that you refrigerate these things, but I like to roll the dice. I'm a gambling man. What can I say? And so far, so good. Use your judgment on that. But the best rule of thumb is it should be shelf stable, which leads me to shelf stable foods that aren't great to bring, like canned food. Canned food is extremely heavy. It is not very calorie dense for how much it weighs. And you have that giant can that you have to carry around with you for the remainder of your time out in the woods, because you're going to practice leave no trace, of course, as you would. You do not want to just throw that can out wherever. So you're gonna have to carry that with you. So you're gonna think about the kind of waste you're creating with the food that you're eating. And another thing is fuel consumption. You do not want to carry foods that are extremely hard to cook, like black beans, for example. Although those would have a great calorie to ounce rating, when they're dry, they are really, really fuel consuming. They take forever to cook. You're gonna simmer those things for 40 minutes. You're gonna be kicking yourself when you run out of fuel after 3 days, or you have to wait a full hour to cook your dinner. No one at the end of a long day of hiking wants to wait an hour to eat. I guarantee you that. So you can use something like red split lentils instead. They consume a lot less fuel because you can simmer them between 5 and 10 minutes and they'll complete cooking. So those are some of the things that I really like to consider when I'm choosing food. That is how I pick the lighter, more inexpensive foods. So all of those things considered, I want to do a bit of a comparison on how these dehydrated meals stack up against one of the meals I like to eat, which is a couscous and lentils meal. I eat this a lot for dinner on the trail. Like I said, I don't really like those backcountry meals. They're over $10 a piece, or around the $10 range. They're very expensive, and generally I need to eat 2 of them to get full. You might be a bit different. If you're just going out for a weekend or a week here and there, you don't nearly need to consume the amount of calories that I consume on a through hike. I've been at this for months. Week after week, I continuously need to up how many calories I eat because I'm consistently running a deficit. So these Mountain House meals, Backcountry, whatever, Backcountry Pantry, these types of meals are great for a person who just wants to go mess around in the woods for the weekend. They're so easy. All you need to do is boil water and pour it in. So if that's what you want to do, go for it. But if I'm doing this for month after month, I can't afford to continuously buy these meals. And that is what people constantly ask me. When you're through hiking, how do you afford all this food? And I'm like, well, it's actually way cheaper than you might expect. So we're gonna go through some of that data and get to it. I'm gonna literally just read it right off my phone because I can't remember all these numbers, names, and so on and so forth. So the couscous and lentil meal that I like to eat, it has a total output of 1,254 calories, 27.8 grams of protein, 33.7 grams of fat, and it weighs 11.94 ounces or 338 grams. The total cost of that is $2.22 US. So that's really cheap. And when I break that down, it's 105 calories per ounce. So it hits that criteria right there. It is calorie dense and efficient. And it is 564 calories per dollar. That's insanely cheap. So cheap. So that's what I like to eat for dinner. And it saves me a ton of money, and it's enormous. That fills up a 1 liter pot to the brim. And that's 1,254 calories. It's an approximation, but that's what I'm working with right there. It takes about 10 minutes to cook, and you do not need a dehydrator to make it. So I'm gonna put that recipe up in the next couple of days. I'm gonna show you guys how I like to cook that. But if we get into the Mountain House chicken and dumplings, the Mountain House chicken and dumplings is 600 calories, it's 33 grams of protein, it's 25 grams of fat, it weighs 4.5 ounces, and it is just under $9 US. So as that compares to the 564 calories per dollar in the couscous and lentils, it is 67 calories per dollar. That is extremely expensive for calories right there. Oh my God. Although it is 133 calories per ounce, it is a bit more efficient in weight. So it's a lighter meal to carry around, but it is way more expensive. Let's go into the beef teriyaki backcountry cuisine. That is 750 calories. It's 34.1 grams of protein, has 21 grams of fat, and it is 175 grams, 6.1 ounces, and it is $9.37 US. So that it comes to 80 calories per dollar and 123 calories per ounce. So once again, slightly more calorie dense. It's a lighter meal, but it is extremely expensive. The Backpacker Pantry Pad Thai with chicken is 840 calories, 46 grams of protein, 32 grams of fat, 7 ounces. It's 206 grams. It's $12.95 US, so that's 115 calories per ounce. That's our heaviest backcountry meal that we found so far, and it is 64.8 calories per dollar. That's so bad. All of those are so bad in comparison in price. So that's just one of the meals that I've compared it to. This is all an approximation, and like I said, these things can be efficient. If you are just trying to go out into the backcountry and do something as simple as possible, these things are that. If you just have a jet boil, you just want to boil water, pour it in and wait, that's what you get out of these things. The convenience is what you're paying for. But I'm gonna start putting up a bunch of different recipes into a playlist of things that I found are extremely simple, extremely inexpensive, and really calorie dense that I like to eat on the trail. So I'm gonna build up a playlist of that kind of stuff that I've been eating on this through hike, and we're gonna try and save some money. Because if you were to eat 3,000 calories a day for 5 months out of these Mountain House meals at these costs, like 70 calories per dollar, it would cost you over $6,000 just to get through one through hike. So if you want to start through hiking, you want to start doing long trails and saving some money, you do not need to go out and buy a dehydrator, but you do need to learn how to find foods that are way more inexpensive, because I don't know about you, but I can't be spending $6,000 on just mountain house meals, backcountry meals on the trail. One of the funny things that I looked up just to see was how many calories are in a ribeye steak per dollar. A ribeye steak per dollar has 93.5 calories. So you're paying more for a backcountry dehydrated meal that's not very good in the first place than you are for a ribeye steak. So it's kind of absurd to me. And like I said, I'm a bit biased. These things upset my stomach. I don't even really like them in the first place, but I'm gonna post a bunch of different recipes that I like. They're very simple, they're super quick, they're really fuel efficient, and they're delicious. At least if you have hiker hunger like I do, they're delicious. They're probably not something you'd want to eat at home. So that's a comparison I thought was pretty amazing. So that's all I got. Thanks for tuning in.